Yes. And we are about, 5 days away from the start of a big game, maybe
A
one of the
new era.
biggest games for the Falcons, but also for Desmond Ridder. Of course, they're going to be
Yes.
in New Orleans taking on the Saints Sunday. And dare I say it, because it's the truth, it is a big game because every single team in the NFC South is still in playoff contention, crazy as
Yes.
it sounds. So
Right.
for most of us who are, if you're in Falcons country as a fan, if you are media who support the Falcons, no one was shocked last week when we got the news that the Falcons decided that they wanted to move forward with Desmond Ridder at QB1,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
But it's the aftermath of that and kind of finding out more of the details that have made it a little bit more intriguing and kind of making you wonder, okay, kind of where are we going forward with what not just QB1 looks like, but really, Jarvis, what the QB room looks like, period, for the rest of this season. So a lot of narrative was around, oh, Desmond Ridder will be replacing Marcus Mariota as a starting QB only if the Falcons are out of playoff contention coming off the bye. Well, guess what? They are still in playoff contention, and a change was still made. Desmond Ridder was put in that position because Arthur Smith said it was performance based. So that change of the narrative that most people thought, I mean, is Ridder there? He's only going to be the starter if the playoffs were not in play. Well, they are, and he is the starter. So what now?
I think that Arthur Smith. I think this is the reason why you drafted him, right? I think that's the reason why they went to him. They drafted him because of the qualities that they feel that he has to be successful in the NFL, right?
Yes.
Because those are some of the things that we talked about. We pointed out all the Mariota's deficiencies after every game, and to
Yes.
ad nauseum, to a lot of people who really disliked us sometimes. For I be reading y'all comments, I be checking y'all out. I know what y'all be saying. So yeah, I see you. I see you. But I think right now it's time to understand why this guy's in this game, and I think that one of the reasons why is because he can make certain throws that Mariota can't make, and I
Yeah.
think that when you have a guy sitting right there and
Hmm.
understanding what you're trying to do, what you're
Right.
trying to accomplish, and given what the game plan is already, the game plan that's already in place with Mariota. Hey, we're
Hmm.
going to run the ball a lot and take some chances from here and now. That's a doggone. To me, that's a game
Hmm.
plan for a rookie quarterback. So hey,
Yes,
it fits, right?
it
I
does.
think
Yeah.
Ritter is the perfect fit for this
Mhm.
particular situation. It's like, hey, we got some good linemen that can run block pretty solid. They've been a solid rushing team, football team throughout the entire year. And I think that you can take advantage of some things that I feel like some attributes that Ritter has that
Mhm.
Mariota necessarily doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think and I wholeheartedly believe this because Arthur Smith said it himself. He's
Yeah.
been preparing Ritter for probably the past month.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Getting him ready for, what the preparing for a game plan, what the process looks like to prepare as a starter. He talked about how, you got to get into your own rhythm. Athletes
Yes.
are creatures of habit, no doubt.
Yep.
I can admit to that. I still am to this day. So, preparing for this show and coming up with ideas and topics, I got to do the same way each and every day. And that's what Mariota has been working on. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Ritter has been working on,
Mhm.
and Arthur Smith has been helping him with that. So I think
Yeah.
all of those things come into play. You put it all in the pot, this is what you get.
Yeah. And you also look at some of the positives that were coming from even the players. Tyler Algier talked about working with Ritter during the bye and kind
Right.
of getting that rhythm set. So that was
Yeah.
exciting because, of course, we know that one of the all important pieces to the run game is that you also have running backs that are complementary enough to be able to give you something in the passing game. But yeah, I thought it was interesting there as well. And I think, too, there were a lot of comments from the players that were consistent with what you and I have spoken about, which is our expectations of who he is and their confirmation of who he is. We set our expectations for Sunday. We're typically more the mental piece than anything. So you just made a point about the fact that he can make throws that Mariota can't make, but also he can make the decision to not make the throw. And those
Oh
decisions that
yes.
Mariota made to make the throw. And like I said, Algier, Caleb Huntley, they all spoke about the maturity that Ritter has shown and that they believe that he is game ready. And I thought that was very positive. And I think, too, another thing that you made a point about is there's been preparation for more than a month now to get Ritter in position for this. Guess who knew that? Marcus Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
So when the decision was made
Yeah.
to tell him, hey, it's official, official. Of course, Arthur Smith, much respect to him for waiting because he wanted Mariota to, get around some good news, if you will, new child, if you will. But
Right.
once Mariota heard that information, essentially he's out of the building, and essentially he'll be on IR for the rest of this year. So probably Mariota's days here are numbered. But I think that's okay, Jarvis, because I think that what Mariota was brought in for, in addition to being kind of a stopgap, was also the veteran experience that he could share with Ridder, right? So
Right.
it'll be interesting to see kind of if we find out more details about that saga. We're going to continue to bring you the information as it evolves so that you guys can understand the layers of this and how the Falcons are getting to where they're going to be Sunday, not just for this position, by the way, because Arthur Smith made it clear he's still looking at some changes in other positions. So if you want to know about that story, or even if you guys want to know about potential fallout for the Cardinals, because it might not just be about Kyler Murray being out for this season with the way he plays ball, he could also be out next season. What does that mean for the Cardinals GM? What does that mean for their coach? Locked On Sports Today will have instant reaction to the
I know
potential
what it
fallout
means.
for the Cardinals. And even if you want to hear about crazy, cray, cray stories like Chris Beard and what the heck is going on with him touching folks in Texas, keep your hands to yourself. Locked On Sports Today is probably going to have a
Please.
reaction for that. And this show loves to take on those kinds of topics. And for the culture, they'll take it on in Take of the Day. So don't forget, after you check us out on Odyssey app, on YouTube, or wherever you download your podcast, your next stop should be Locked On Sports Today. Now, look, the other piece there that we thought was interesting, but I would say respectful, want to hear what you have to say. Arthur Smith, like we said, confirmed that Marcus Mariota is going to IR with a knee issue. Pretty convenient, right?
Oh, it is most definitely convenient, T. Like, because when you think about it, like, and I had to hit my guy up, Josh Kendall, who covers the Falcons for the Athletic. I was just like, uh, I like that follow up question that you had, because when he said that he potentially is going to go to IR,
Right.
then he came back and said that, this is something that, it's the player's prerogative. He
Yes.
said a chronic knee issue. And I'm just like, all these terms are something that feels like coming from a player. And, he wanted to get
Right.
it checked out, and then he's potentially going to go to IR. I was like, and
Right.
then my guy Josh followed up and said, well, if he didn't lose his starting position, would he still have played, or would he have this issue? And then
Right.
Arthur Smith's response was, I'm not a doctor, but wait a minute. You said that he's potentially going to IR. So you
Right.
are, saying potentially putting yourself in a doctor's a cloak real quick and saying that, this is what it is. This is what's about to
Yeah.
go down. So I think that just all this stuff kind of it ends up being similar to a Deion Jones situation, right?
Yeah. No
How
question.
he played in the preseason game, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden, he went on an hour. Like, wait a minute, he looked healthy to me. What happened?
Right.
So all of those things kind of boil down to, and I just think that it feels like this is coming from Marcus Mariota saying,
Mhm.
"Hey, I want to get this knee checked out. I want to see what's going on." And then, so basically, you're buying out in a sense,
Yeah.
and that kind of goes against what we felt and how we felt about that guy, right? The reason why they brought
Yeah.
him in, because he was a veteran, because he
Mhm.
has experience, and just
Right.
in case there is a quarterback change, or he would have lost out on the quote unquote QB battle to start the
Mhm.
season, he would have been a good resource for Ridder.
Yes.
And I think that it kind of sucks a little bit, because like
Mhm.
I didn't gather Mariota doing something like this,
Right.
and I'm not going to indict him, but
Mhm.
it's fishy. It's fishy.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm disappointed as well because I'm thinking, okay, I'd almost rather you just go on paternity leave. Like at least
Right,
that would make a
exactly.
little bit
Like,
more sense to me.
ain't nobody gonna question that. Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me because that
right,
takes you out for a week or two. And if you're needed for whatever reason in those last couple of weeks, you're available to the Falcons versus going on IR, you're done.
right,
But yeah, so that was kind of disappointing. But because of the verbiage, I do agree that it seems player driven versus coach driven. However,
right.
the one caveat that I would add is Marcus Mariota, Arthur Smith, they have a pre existing relationship. There's a lot
Mhm.
of respect there. And
Yeah,
so maybe with Marcus saying, hey, you know what? I just want to bow out gracefully. And IR is probably the most graceful way to bow out because then I don't
Yeah.
have to answer any questions. I don't have to be around this whole situation. I can just, kind of reset to see if there's any way that I can possibly salvage my career next season because I still don't feel like he'll be the backup next season. I feel like, hey, they might just give him the money and say, you know, thanks so much for just being a stopgap for a year. We appreciate you, or three-quarters of a year or a season. So we'll see,
And I
what
just let me just add this real quick, T. I think he really believed that he was going to revitalize his career here
Yeah.
in Atlanta. I really,
Yes.
I think he
No
really
question.
wholeheartedly believed that he was going to be able to be a starter here for a
Right.
few years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
As
I
he
can
should.
kind of get it. And not saying that Arthur Smith sold him on that because I
Right.
don't think Arthur Smith is that type of guy, but I do believe that he really felt like this. It wasn't going to end like this, obviously.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. I don't think anyone who is an athlete playing at the highest level walks into a situation saying, I'm just going to settle for second. Even if
Yeah,
they kind of know somewhere
yeah.
in the back of their heads, unless you're just not a competitor. But most are competitors, and most are saying, hey, I'm gunning for that number one spot, and I believe I can get it. So, yeah, I think this probably was a bigger disappointment than maybe any of us realized because he knows the mindset that he walked into this season and into this franchise with and where it ended up as of now and probably the remainder of the season. So, you know, if you are one of those people who loved Mariota and thought that this show was going in on him all the time, and now you're really sad about it, get yourself a Built Bar. It'll make everything okay. Just
Yes,
go
it's
to
gonna be all right.
built.com, get yourself some puffs. 100% real chocolate, only 160 grams of fat. So, therefore, it's not going to really hit your midsection for you to be like really sad about this whole QB1 switch. Also, you can get 15 grams of protein. So that is good. You need to be healthy through the rest of the season. Most of us are trying to not put on pounds. And so when you get a little hungry and you don't want to go in there and eat that full holiday meal that's been sitting there waiting for you, just check out Built. Built.com is where you go. Use the code locked on 15 and that'll get you 15% off your first order. And don't forget, if you don't want it for yourself, it'll definitely make for good stocking stuffers. Check it out at built.com.